Coming out this week on Beyond the Vibe, I go out on the road for the first time as I'm joined in person by my Dawes.
I did a Van Halen cover as a tribute to Eddie Van Halen, who passed away during the pandemic, who was like my biggest guitar hero. You know, my girlfriend at the time was like, you know, you really should do a Van Halen tune as a tribute. And I was like, no, because it'll come across as crass. And she convinced me to do it. But the icing on the cake there was Wolfgang Van Halen, Eddie's son, actually reached out and said how much he enjoyed it, which made the whole thing sort of super, like, you know, my shoulders relaxed and I exhaled and was like, okay. Over and checked my emails. This thing said, hi, my name's Justin Hayward, I'm putting together a band to tour in the USA and would you be interested? And I just thought it was just like a spam, and I just wrote back saying, ha.
Literally wrote back
just
with
H-A, ha. That was the response. And then he emailed back saying, ha, no, for real, it'll be great to meet up.
I was going to say, a guy that's kind of often regarded as like one of the greatest acoustic guitarists ever.
He's the greatest guitar player that's ever lived.
You think?
Yeah. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking.
So I'm here with Mike Dawes. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
Pleasure. Welcome to our extremely cozy.
I know the most.
Sorry, I wasn't talking into the microphone.
That's all right.
Welcome to our extremely cozy backstage. Sorry.
The most enclosed backstage we've ever done, but we're here.
I can smell you.
Yes.
And it's a hot day as well.
No, it is.
It's insane.
Of course, on this show, I like to kind of take a look at how things began for a musician. So what was it like growing up for you, and like what first drew you towards playing guitar in particular?
Oh, guitar in particular, it's a funny, well, it's a story that I think is more common than people think. Well, I moved around a lot as a kid because my dad changed jobs a few times, so I changed schools a few times, and when I got to age sort of like 11 or 12 or something, I was at a new school. It's the kind of secondary school age, you know, when you go from primary school to secondary school. In the UK, that's like, I don't know what they call it in America, like beginner school to intermediate school. But basically, the cool kid in class got a guitar and was playing it. And I was just like, I want to belong and I want to fit in. So I asked my parents if I could get a real cheap guitar for my birthday and convinced them that I would stick with it. And they caved generously. I got a little Squier Telecaster for my 12th birthday. And, you know, I was always interested in music before that, but it wasn't until I started playing the guitar that I actually fell in love with it. It was a case of getting it to fit in, but then as soon as I was able to get my fingers strong enough to play a note, you know, then that was it. I was just obsessed with it.
Of course, you've got that kind of a signature kind of fingerstyle percussion approach to playing. How did like that come about? Because it's not like people of my generation and, you know, maybe a few years above, it's not something that you would naturally look at now, is it? Like you see like metalheads or people wanting to play as loud as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to play as loud as possible, but well, there was a multi-pronged kind of attack there because I was always into like actually metal and rock music, and a lot of my friends to this day are now in really big metal bands, you know. But where I lived, there weren't a lot of musicians into a variety of styles. There was like a few school bands, and I was in one of them, and there was maybe like one or two others. But I found that as I got older, I wanted to play more and more, and I found the easiest way to do that was to get into the open mic circuit and just self-accompany and just do something that was just me alone. Just because, you know, the drummer, my friend Alex, who was the drummer in this metal band, he was really into like Mike Portnoy and had like 3 bass drums and 21 cymbals and all of that. And that was so much fun, of course. But logistically, you know, the setting up and packing down time alone, you know, there's only so many times you can play a week, you know, when you're a student. So I got into that and wanted to self-accompany, and it was at that time I discovered players like Andy McKee and Eric Roche and people like that when YouTube first happened. This was around sort of 2006, 2007. And I guess that kind of hybrid circumstance led me to really pursue alternate tunings and the potential of that for self-accompaniment.
Now, what I find, having spoken to like loads of different musicians, is there's always kind of this moment, like either going to a first gig or a first band that kind of really, for want of a better word, like strikes a chord with them. Did you have like a particular musician that kind of made you go, "Oh, I'm going to go down that road in particular"?
That's a good question, because but in different areas. So my first favorite band was Green Day, actually, when I was like 12, or when I was like getting into the guitar. Once I got one, I was like, okay, well, who plays guitar? And Green Day were a big thing, and it was the whole international super hits, pre-American Idiot kind of era. And I actually went to see them at Wembley as a 12-year-old, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, I remember they had a bit of their show where they got a kid from the audience to come up and play each instrument.
Right.
So, and I was like, oh my God, that could be me. If I learned my A, E, and D chords, that could be me, and then I got into Iron Maiden and the big bombastic shows. Just the idea of doing live performance just seemed so thrilling through watching these huge rock bands. So those were huge influences. But then, with the acoustic side, it was really players like Eric Roche, Pierre Bensusan from France was a big influence. And, Andy McKee, who I've since worked with a lot. I'm actually going to do his guitar camp next month. This is late July, teaching alongside him, which is pretty cool. But the one musician I must give a shout out to, who was a huge influence, actually, upon reflection, is a Finnish guitar player, singer-songwriter called Petteri Sariola. Petteri Sariola. I can't pronounce it because he's Finnish, but it's Petteri Sariola, and his style is the style that I've adopted the most, for sure. And he is a criminally underrated and lesser known player in the States and the UK, but he should be a household name as far as I'm concerned, because what he does is incredibly innovative, and he's got an amazing voice, an amazing sense of melody and songwriting, And he is how I got into playing the particular guitar I play as well. We're both signature artists of this particular guitar maker in Germany. Yeah, so I've got to give him a shout out for sure. Yeah, he's great.
Please put your hands together for me right now, just like a rock show, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. Look at the 17-year-old me when this happens to straight. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. I'll do it.
Now, I'm sure, like many people, have kind of been first introduced to you from, your most viral videos of you covering somebody that you used to know. And I know, yeah, and it had to be that time. One, obviously by Metallica. That's cool. Can you remember, in particular, that moment when you kind of discovered that these videos had kind of exploded?
Yeah. It was a Tuesday. No. Yeah. So, the somebody that I used to know thing is actually, I think today or like in the coming days, 10 years old. I released that 10 years ago, that cover. And I knew it was special. I know that sounds like a very, Captain Hindsight, smarty pants thing to say, but it's true. Like, this was at a time where there wasn't a lot of stuff of that nature on YouTube, so I felt that it had this relatively unique property, but it was also composed and arranged, or it was arranged with immense emotional input. Like, it was a very, very genuine and sincere thing that I spent so much time on, and I just felt that the whole thing was special. I had a sense of it, and it did take off. And the same thing happened with the Metallica one, just simply because I grew up a metalhead, and I know the metal community meme about the end of one with the double kick thing, and everyone knows that. And I knew that when I started that in the context of solo guitar, all the metal fans would be like, I wonder what he's going to do at the 5-minute mark with the double kick thing and the shred solo. So I anticipated a certain amount of viewer retention, and I was proud of the arrangement, of course. And I also had that released strategically with a metal magazine called Metal Hammer. So I just figured that both of those were kind of perfect storms. And that has happened more often than not with covers. Certainly, if you have a strong sense of something, it has, fortunately, resonated with people. But then sometimes, you think you've got, a slam dunk, and people will just think it's a piece of, a piece of hot garbage. But yeah, with those two songs in particular, I had a sense that they were people would relate to them, or people would enjoy watching the videos and listening to the arrangement.
And it's just an interesting thing I find, particularly with this kind of new era with the YouTuber thing. Of course, here today, Jack Broadbent, he had the same kind of thing with the exploding video going everywhere, viral. What do you think it is in particular with yourself that's kind of like, it's almost the reverse now of what it used to be. You'd have to go to a label, you'd have to do all this. You can do things yourself now, or even by accident. What do you think it is that's kind of created this kind of weird community? Like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for like YouTube. But it's that particular corner, isn't it? Like, this.
Well, first of all, the audience, and by the audience I mean people, music fans, are intelligent people, and they're not idiots. And I think nowadays people know when they're being fed some kind of manufactured thing with a corporate sheen on it. And the great thing about YouTube and true viral videos that come from independent creators is that they can see that is someone's genuine expression, and it has a wow factor to it, even more so because it's not being shoved down someone's throat. These very polished, even nowadays, like polished label-esque multicam mega production videos, even if they're showing something of a similar genre, they don't connect with people in the same way as that old classic footage of Andy McKee playing with in fucking 240p. It's just one guy playing his art, and people connect with that, I think, and that's where we are culturally. It's an amazing time for people just to see through a true window into what someone's creating. Now in 2022, the problem is oversaturation, and that it's not that every sincere and awesome creation is going to get the time of day. In fact, far from it. It's much harder now. Now people need to find new ways of standing out, and ironically, I feel like it's going to come almost full circle, where people are finding more disingenuous and quick dopamine ways of getting into people's consciousnesses. By saying, I've got this sincere piece of art, but I have to do a viral dance to promote it,
Yes.
So it's this weird time now where the oversaturation has caused people to really try and go for clicks, and that I have a hard time doing that, because I'm not very good at talking to the camera and being like, hey guys, smash that like, and which is, I do that, and people need to do that now, and I just feel very fortunate that I was able to have a few tracks take off just before that initial kind of peek into people's sincere creations kind of got ducked behind an oversaturation of content, if that makes sense. I feel very, very lucky to have released in 2012, 13, 14 rather than, now. Starting now I think is very difficult. I think it's very hard to stand out without... it's very hard to stand out with sincere art nowadays, more so than it was 10, 20 years ago, even independently. Maybe I'm just a cynical dick. Excuse my language.
No, it's cool. We can swear on it. It's cool. There's no rules. The one thing I did notice with your videos in particular is like, it does come from this kind of more creative avenue. It's not kind of, as you said then, it's not that kind of manufactured almost. I imagine it's kind of like, from watching it, even with the Van Halen jump stuff, and it feels like it comes from a place. It's like, well, I want to do this song or I want to make this.
I'm very glad that's your takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that. It's
Good.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's, you know, and that's an interesting point. I did a Van Halen cover as a tribute to Eddie Van Halen, who passed away during the pandemic, who was like my biggest guitar hero. And, you know, my girlfriend at the time was like, you know, you really should, like, do a Van Halen tune as a tribute. And I was like, no, because it'll come across as crass. And she convinced me to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it was like a genuine thing. But when I put it out, I made sure it wasn't monetized. There was no tab. It wasn't on any of the streaming sites. Like, zero money came to me from that whatsoever. And people just asking, you know, why isn't it on Spotify? And it's like, well, because I don't want to make any money from it. And you can't put something on Spotify and not make money from it, because it just brings you money, right? But the icing on the cake there was Wolfgang Van Halen, Eddie's son, actually reached out and said how much he enjoyed it, which made the whole thing sort of super, like, you know, my shoulders relaxed and I exhaled and was like, okay, you know, because we're British people, we don't do the whole, you know, look at me, I rule, kind of thing, like they do slightly further west. And so it is very, I find it very difficult to, you know, a celebrity death, then do a cover. Like, come on, man, you know. But the Van Halen thing's different, man. The Van Halen thing, I mean, any guitar player was just absolutely devastated when he passed away. So, but yeah, I appreciate you picking up on the implied sincerity.
No, it's completely cool one. So your latest album, Shows and Distancing, which is a live album released over the pandemic.
It is
an interesting kind of approach. Yeah. Can you talk a bit about that and like how it came about? Because like releasing a live album during a pandemic, it's obviously not something I've seen.
Well, I mean, it was something I was going to release anyway before I knew there was a pandemic, because I recorded the stuff in 2019, you know, so I wasn't thrown together as a response. That was just an interesting timing. But basically, I do most of my touring in the USA. I always have done. I should really live there at this point, to be honest, because I'm paying double tax. But I work with, you know, various tours. I play a lot with Tommy Emmanuel. I play a lot with Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues. I play a lot with a tour called International Guitar Night. There's all these big theatre tours in the US, and the US audiences have always responded really well to the British guitar player. You know, they really get it over there. I really mean that, and I love playing in the USA. So I wanted to do a live album based on those experiences. So I was able to record 2 shows. One of them was in New York, one of them was in Florida, and then there was an extra little studio thing I did in Los Angeles. And put together this record and took great care with the recording. And I'm really, really, really pleased with how the recording sounds, because recording solo guitar live is what I do anyway. So what makes a live album any different? Right, it's just one guy playing guitar. So I made this whole album all about the show. So all the arrangements are different, and like, you know, I've got the audience, you know, singing along, and I've got the audience clapping along and whooping and hollering, and there's this real rock show vibe to it. Because I grew up listening to Guns N' Roses live era and Rock in Rio, Iron Maiden. You know, I wanted a live audience rock thing, and that's how that was mixed, and that's how it was recorded, and I'm really proud of it. There's also some bonus tracks later on the record from my very first gig in America ever at the Iridium Club on Times Square. So there's a little evolution of my playing and touring. So it's a love letter to touring, and in particular towards the US audiences for welcoming me and essentially giving me a career, because that's been most of my touring for sure.
Obviously, it's kind of it's an interesting thing because, you know, you're English, as we've said. Yet, as you just said there, most of your stuff is kind of outside of England. So you kind of, it's almost like it's in reverse, isn't it? Like you're kind of now coming back. Well,
it was
here.
really weird because the first thing I put out was that Somebody That I Used to Know arrangement, and because it went viral, I just got all these international touring offers. And yes, I had offers to tour in the UK, but as a 22-year-old, I was like, I could go to Basildon or I could go to Lebanon, you know. And so I would go to the most exotic places, and because I got a job playing guitar for and opening for the lead singer of the Moody Blues, there was the touring infrastructure to get me a visa and get me over there and do the tour bus thing, and I couldn't turn that down, and that kind of opened so many doors to audiences, being able to play in the big rooms, and I just love traveling as well. That was the goal, just to travel and play guitar, and I did play in the UK a lot as a student, so I did feel like I'd been everywhere, but I just never really did it on a professional level, just kind of doing the open mic circuit and stuff. Yeah.
You spoke of Justin Hayward there from the Moody Blues. Now I hear that there was kind of a strange kind of email and interaction that kind of sparked all that off. Could you maybe?
Yeah. Well, basically, I didn't know who he was because I just I knew the Moody Blues, but I didn't know them well enough to know that the members' names. And I was asleep in my student house. And I woke up and I did the thing where you roll over and you check your emails, and I was half asleep and I just got an email saying, "Hi, my name's Justin Hayward. I'm putting together a band to tour in the USA, and would you be interested?" And I just thought it was just like a spam, and I just wrote back saying, "Ha!"
Literally wrote back
just
with
H-A, ha.
Yeah.
That was the response, and then he emailed back saying, "Ha, no, for real, it'd be great to meet up." And then I had come to a bit, and then I think his email had his middle name in. No, his email didn't have his middle name, but I Googled him, and Wikipedia had his middle name. So then I said, "Oh, are you Justin David Hayward?" Which is his full name. And he says, "Yes, that's me." And then I told my parents about it later, and they kind of like flipped me around the ear and said, "You're an idiot." But that was really fun. I went to Esher in Surrey to audition, and he said he liked me because I'm tall.
Right.
Because he's tall, and the keyboard player is not. So he didn't want to look like a giant on stage. So there you go, kids. That's how you get session gigs.
Is that kind
Be
of
the
how
same height as...
did an extensive search on you
yeah,
beforehand.
Exactly. But no, I think he liked the style I played because I played in this unusual style, and then he gave me the opening slot as well, which is a real blessing because it means I'm able to play my own music and cultivate my own fan base out there, and that's how that USA relationship began, really.
Now, of course, like, it doesn't stop there. You've also worked with and are about to go on tour a bit later on in the year with Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah, Tommy's the king. Yeah,
well, this is what I was going to say. A guy that's kind of often regarded as like one of the greatest acoustic guitarists ever.
He's the greatest guitar player that's ever lived.
You think?
Yeah. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. And if you don't believe me, go see a Tommy Emmanuel show. And if you argue with me about it and haven't seen a Tommy Emmanuel show, then you've got no leg to stand on because you need to see the show. See Tommy play if he's coming to your town. And it's just going to be announced in a couple of days, but we've done a record together.
Right.
And an EP, which is part of his Accomplice series, where he does EPs with another musician. So that's a huge honor, just being some random idiot kid from Bristol trying to play with Tommy. And that was all recorded one take. Every track was one take.
Wow.
Completely pure. No editing, no bullshit. Just two guys in Studio City, Los Angeles, in one of Chris Lord-Alge's studios, mixed and engineered by Mark DeSisto. Just, here's some microphones, no click, just go. It's the most honest record I think I'll ever make in my life. Terrifying to see what people think, because you can't hide. And the other guy on the track is literally the greatest guitar player of all time. It's like
when you're sat in that studio, do you kind of feel like
he makes you feel relaxed? That's the thing. If he wasn't such a nice guy and an awesome human, I would be bricking it. But he's literally just like, "No, that sounded great, man. Oh yeah," and he's like dancing and listening to it played back, and he's like, man, like, oh, he's pulling on the faces and doing guitar face, and he's just a big kid. It's amazing. Like he makes you feel like you can do anything. And I can't. I just do my thing. But whatever it is about my thing, he likes, and he wanted to do a record. So I'm very grateful for that, for sure. Yeah.
Obviously, you've worked with both these guys in particular. Has there been any kind of advice or anything that you've kind of learned with them that you've taken on board for your own kind of
Absolutely. With Justin Hayward, I learned a lot about being a session player and leaving room for the vocal. Because the way that works is that he just sends us MP3s of the songs, that he wants to do on the tour, and then it's up to us to create these acoustic arrangements. Then we just bring them to rehearsals, and it's like, okay, and go, and we all just play it together. And sometimes he's like, that's great, done. And sometimes he's like, this needs to change, and sometimes he'll, change his mind midway through the tour, throw us some curveballs. But I learned a lot through the years of just what to anticipate his feedback would be, because he has such an amazing ear. He has the best ear. He's 76, I believe, and he has the best, most meticulous ear out of anyone I've ever worked with. It's ridiculous. Not just for arranging, but for sonics, for sounds, how the woods on my guitar will blend with the woods on his guitar, and all this kind of stuff. He has a very specific ideas. With Tommy, I've learned. Obviously, I picked up licks and things, but it's the showmanship, and it's the how to do a live show, and how to make instrumental guitar an entertaining thing for people. And something I will just say is that I've done guitar festivals and things with guitar players who are, let's just say, less successful than Tommy. And I've heard them say things like, "Oh, Tommy, yeah, he's fine, I guess, but he's just too entertaining," like as if that's some kind of bad thing. Like, "Oh yeah, he just tries to make people happy," It's like as if it is somehow delegitimizes the guitar playing or the fact that these people don't know what they're talking about, because I've seen him do sets where he'll just play ballads for an hour and make everyone weep. It's like he really is head and shoulders above everyone else. And I'm sorry to everyone else listening, but it's true, and you kind of got to admit it. He's just...
I think when people are saying, "Oh, he's too entertaining," they're kind of... At that point, you're looking for a flaw and you're struggling to find one.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's always the same kind of players, the players that are amazing players, but perhaps a very... just this next song is this next song is this, this next song is this. And because I came from that school of like Iron Maiden shows, it's all about the show, and I love that, and I love learning about crafting a show and just trying to make people forget about their mortgages for the evening. I don't want anyone's minds to wander and get bored during my set. I want to keep throwing them something and entertain the boyfriend or girlfriend they've dragged along who doesn't really play guitar. I want to reach them, and that's something that I've definitely learned from Tommy and continuing to try and learn from.
I think that's kind of why people go to a show. You can hear the music.
No shit.
Like a CD,
to have fun.
or you can
Shock horror.
But you want to. Like you go for that extra something, don't you? It's
it's live.
Yeah.
I mean, put a record on if you want to just
exactly.
But I do. But then I will go to shows and see like unbelievable, incredible musicians just play their music from start to finish, and it will be amazing. Don't get me wrong. Just
it's that experience.
There's certainly nothing wrong with giving extra. Yeah. I could never see how. Here's a good example. Corey Wong. Right, so Corey Wong, I saw him play at the Fleece in Bristol, a small club, and it was like half stand-up comedy. He started doing karate and breaking boards and went slow motion and pitch shifted his voice, and the crowd was in stitches, and still mind-blowing musicianship. Amazing show. I saw him a few months ago at the Academy. There was no talking, it was just start to finish playing songs. Completely different and equally mind-blowing, So there's no right way or wrong way to do it. It's just... there's certainly nothing wrong with mixing it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean that guy's literally going two ends of the scale.
Exactly. That's that, and that really legitimized this whole debate for me. I mean, I would cite him as a wonderful example of someone who can do everything. He can just do the world class musician thing, or he can throw in some memes. It's like either or.
Finally, a question I like to finish on and ask everybody. If you could tour with one band or musician from the past and one from the present, who would they be? So you've got your time travel device. You could go and fetch somebody.
That's to go on tour with.
Yeah, well, you could tour with them or have like this amazing gig.
Yeah, I mean, I really. This is going to sound lame, but I mean, Tommy. fucking love touring with Tommy, and another reason is because his crew are so cool. His crew are wicked. We toured together on a bus recently, and it's just we all get on, and it's a fun time, and there's zero complaints there. From the past, I mean, it would be amazing to be in the presence of some guitar greats, but you know, if I was to say the cliched answer somewhat, it would be Michael Hedges, because he really pioneered this style long before my time. But to zoom out and to think what would make a great show, that would be awful, because he would just destroy me and I'd be distraught.
Well, this could be for yourself. It could be just for that experience.
For the experience of being in his presence, yes, because I feel like he was a very unique individual and a very quirky individual, knowledgeable but sincere and poetic and inspiring. So yeah, two acoustic guitar players on different ends of the spectrum, really. But yeah, I think both of those would be great experiences. But then Iron Maiden.
I mean, that would be interesting.
That would be. I mean, it would be an awful show for me. I'd get bottled. But it would be great to watch Iron Maiden from the side of the stage. I love those guys. They're great.
I mean, I don't know whether you get bored. I mean, I reckon, I don't know. Some
Bottled?
Kind of,
are you kidding?
Some kind of acoustic version?
Have you been to an Iron Maiden show? Because no one cares about the support act.
Everybody hates the support.
Everybody hates the support acts. I remember I saw them at Earl's Court, and I think it was Trivium opening, and it was just bottles of piss. Yeah. Like, get off! This is Iron Maiden. We want Iron Maiden. You know,
they've got a thing about that.
They have a thing. Iron Maiden fans it's like Slayer fans. You don't want to open for Slayer. You know.
I mean, I'd love to see you open for Slayer.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah,
it'd be the most left field thing. Like, don't announce it.
You know
just
what?
Turn up.
I was at Download one year, Download Festival, and Slayer were delayed, or their flight was delayed, and the crowd was filled with Slayer fans, like Slayer, Slayer. And the announcer comes on and goes, "Guys, we're really sorry, Slayer stuck in traffic, but we've rescheduled the lineup a little bit. So now, for your entertainment, Taking Back Sunday." And this overwhelming boo. You know, it was quite amazing to watch. Poor guys. That was tough. I felt very sorry for them. But
I know, but they're immediately onto a loser before it started.
It's like you just go home at that point. Yeah. But yeah, awesome.
Oh, dear. Well, thank you very much anyway for...
Dude, pleasure,
for
yeah. I thanks for perking me up. I was literally in Alabama 2 days ago, and I slept 2 hours last night, and I got bagged under my eyes, so it's nice to...
All of the jet lag.
All of the jet lag. Looking forward to playing tonight, though, because that's the best medicine. And, speaking of, I think it's time to have some dinner and warm up and play a show.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure.